Well, the Ravens won the toss, chose to defer to the second half. So Danielle Manning standing back for Chicago as this game is underway in Baltimore. Manning fields it on the hop at the 5-yard line, still on his feet, and is spun down at the 17. So that's why Jay Cutler will put it in play. Of course, Cutler, part of a blockbuster trade during the offseason, coming over from Denver, has thrown for better than 3,000 yards. Only the 5th Chicago quarterback to ever do that. But the 22 interceptions, a league high. Cutler to throw on first down. And the catch is made and still on his feet out across the 40 to the 45 all the way to midfield is Earl Bennett, a second-year wide receiver out of Vanderbilt. That's his 47th reception of the season.
We've seen a lot of this type of play out of the Chicago Bears. Jay Cutler trying to get the ball out of his hand very quickly. You can see Bennett on the outside right here. Comes back with that little one-step quick screen. Get the tight end and the tackle. Then just a nice job cutting, getting back to the outside. You always want a guy on a screen pass to get back to the outside away from the oncoming defense.
A 30-yard gain on the first play from scrimmage. And a minimal gain on first down. A 2-yard catch by Devin Aromashadu, who had the big game last weekend in the loss to Green Bay. Matt Forte is closing in on 700 yards rushing this season. Aromashadu, an outstanding game last week. A career-high 8 receptions, 76 yards. Again, Chris Williams has started left tackle. Orlando Pace out with an injured groin. And again, starting on the right tackle position is Kevin Schaefer. Blitz coming. Incomplete and very close to a 23rd interception thrown this year by Jay Cutler. Defensively for the Ravens, not quite the unit they've been in years past, but still rock solid. Donnell Ellerbe gets a start for the injured Tavares Gooden at linebacker. And again in the secondary, Noed Reed. Reed has been bothered with a hip injury along with an ankle injury. So the Chicago native Zimikowski out of Notre Dame gets a start again at safety. He's had interceptions playing in place of Reed in each of the last 2 weeks. There is the 23rd interception thrown by Cutler. Dominique Foxworth at the 48-yard line. Not the kind of start, again, the Cutler and the Bears were looking for.
Well, when you throw, and we've seen it this whole drive, getting the ball out of your hand quickly, but you've got to be very careful when you look from one side to the other on a quick route. Here they have a slant on the backside. Jay Cutler was not looking to the left side initially, came out of it a little bit blind when he threw the ball, and Dominic Foxworthy stepped right underneath it for now another interception by Jay Cutler.
So now the Ravens get the football. Close to midfield, Flacco up under center, and will throw it on first down, and underthrows the open receiver to his right, Derek Mason. Flacco, of course, in his second year, started all 16 games as a rookie a season ago and led Baltimore to the AFC Championship game. If you include the playoffs, the Ravens have won 20 of the 32 games that Flacco has started. Very impressive. Tight end Todd Heap in motion. They give it to Ray Rice. And the second-year back out of Rutgers runs for 8. A 3rd and short upcoming for Baltimore. Talk about the Ravens in the backfield, Rice and McClain. McClain, a Pro Bowler a season ago. Demetrius Williams starts in place of the injured Mark Clayton. And again, it's Michael Orr moving over to the left side, replacing the injured Jared Davis. And there's Rice. inside the 20, down to the 14. What a phenomenal year Ray Rice is having for these Ravens.
This is just a counterplay by the Baltimore Ravens, and the Chicago Bears have packed this box with as many people as they can, but a great job of down kick out, and then now Ray Rice in the open field. His size, his speed, his power really jumps out at you when you get a chance to see him play.
Rice will get it again for a gain of 1. Of course, that's good news for these Ravens fans with Miami going down. Better news, a touchdown pass to Heap. So after the interception, Baltimore marches down the field and jumps in front on the touchdown pass, 14 yards. Flacco to Heap.
We see this all the time. You flank out a big receiver like Todd Heap to see what is the matchup. Out of college, they called him the golden retriever. You like the size matchup here. He uses his size, moves into the slant. Great read and throw by Joe Flacco. Great opening series for the Baltimore Ravens.
So now the point after by Billy Cundiff. They brought him in about a month ago, and he has been very good. So barely 3 minutes into this one, and it's 7-0 Baltimore. We welcome those of you joining us from early games. Jay Cutler throws his league-high 23rd interception on the first possession, and Baltimore takes advantage with a touchdown.
Joe Flacco, they keep building this box because of the anticipated run. Real solid play fake coming back to his big, talented tight end, Todd Heap, who they flank out to get the matchup they're looking for. We'll expect to see more of this as the game goes on, as Chicago has to account for that dynamic young back, Ray Rice.
Of course, Brian Billick, you were here when the Baltimore Ravens drafted Todd Heap #1 in 2001. He's the Ravens' all-time leader in receptions and receiving touchdowns. He has been an outstanding player. Danielle Manning from the 3. Good return for Manning all the way out to the 39-yard line. So now Cutler and the Bears, second possession. This time they get it trailing by a touchdown. And on first down, Matt Forte out across the 40 up to the 42-yard line. Dropped there by Jarrett Johnson. You were talking about Johnson before the game. Now in his 7th year of Alabama. A 4th-round pick in 2003. Overshadowed by so many great stars through the years, but a really good player.
I tell you what, you give me 11 Jarrett Johnsons, I'll beat you in whatever game you want to play. We'll do whatever you ask of him. He drops, he rushes. One of the smartest players I've ever been around.
Forte again on 2nd and 7. Picks up 2. A 3rd down upcoming. Some of the early games around the National Football League. How about that very first one? Atlanta today rallies late on the Tony Gonzalez touchdown reception to beat the Jets. The Jets were in a prime position to get even closer to the playoffs. And a moment ago, Turk told you about that Arizona win in the final 2 minutes at Detroit.
Well, and like you said, Tom, that Miami losing to Tennessee very much affects the playoff race for these Baltimore Ravens.
They run it on 3rd and 4 and will cash in with a first down as Forte crosses midfield and he's to the 49. Cutler on first down. Catch is made by Johnny Knox, the rookie, at the 35-yard line.
We're seeing a lot of movement by way of the secondary of the Baltimore Ravens. They wanted to give Jay Cutler a lot of different looks, already leading to 1 turnover by Cutler. They want him to have to think a lot and not be certain of what he sees down the field. Good news is that that's going to leave you some one-on-one matchups on the outside. Jay Cutler certainly capable of capitalizing on that.
Forte, good running room inside the 30, down to the 27-yard line. A gain of 8 for Matt Forte. Lovie Smith in his 6th season as head coach of the Bears, and there was a report a couple of days ago that he's going to be back for a 7th year. Regardless of the outcome over these final 3 games, he's won 50 while losing 43. And of course, John Harbaugh replaced Brian Billick here in Baltimore in his 2nd year. Took them to the AFC Championship game a season ago in a heart-stopping loss to the rival Pittsburgh Steelers. Very close to a first down carry for Matt Forte. He may be, well, they got a pretty good spot there. This appears to be good enough for a first down. Why have the Bears not run it as well this season, Coach?
You know, Forte is impressive. He had a great rookie season, better than 1,200 yards on the year. When you watch them play, their offensive line clearly in transition, not as physical as they have been. The thing that jumps out at me is their lack of their ability to get up to that second level with the linebackers. They're not a very athletic line. They've got some good push. They've got definite first down here, but their ability to push the ball up the field and get to that second level. You can see right here, this last place, that is not what a Lovie Smith coach team, that's not his intentions. That will be priority number 1 with Lovie Smith coming back going into next year.
And a good start for Forte, 5 carries, 21 yards. He'll get it his 6th time, and not much running room here. That head on by Kelly Gregg, who has been the cornerstone of this Ravens defensive line since signing as a free agent 10 years ago. Missed all of last season after that microfracture knee surgery. Came off the great 2007 year and playing very well again.
No one tougher in the league than Kelly Gregg. Wrestles in the offseason. This was an Oklahoma State champion. Wrestles in the offseason to stay in shape.
Extra tight end checks in for Chicago. 8th play of this drive, 2nd and 8 to Forte. And read beautifully by Ladarius Webb, the rookie corner, getting his 4th start.
They're excited about this young player. Watch how quickly he transitions right here. They want to get one of those quick screens. We've already seen 2 of them. And right now he pulls the trigger, dips his shoulder underneath the receiver trying to block out. Good open field tackle. They are extremely excited about this rookie out of Nicholls State.
3rd and 9. They lay it off for the tight end, and Olsen is very close to a first down. Depending on the spot, he might be about a foot short. If he is short, if you're Lovie Smith, are you going on 4th down?
Why not? Why not? You're out of the playoffs. You want to find out about your team. That's the mantra you've been going out all week and saying, we're going to find out about ourselves. We're going to find out who can play. Take this momentum into next year. Absolutely, you go for it.
And they are. 6 of 15 on 4th down this season are the Chicago Bears. He appears to have enough. Needed to get just beyond the 15. And looks to be about a yard inside of that. It is a first down.
Now this, we talked earlier about, they've got to run the ball better. This is a great opportunity to shove the ball into the end zone, running the ball. But you know what? The Ravens know that too. And I think they're going to present Jay Cutler with an opportunity with some one-on-one matchups with maybe a play fake and a shot to the end zone if they choose to take it.
11th play of this drive. Tipped and intercepted by Jared Johnson. The 2nd interception thrown already today by Cutler. That's 6 of them inside the red zone this season, a league high. So Baltimore leading 7-0. Flacco on the quick slant to Derek Mason. And for Derek Mason, that is his 850th career reception. Only the 16th player in league history to reach 850 catches in a career. And even at 35 years young, Mason very much still playing with a chip on his shoulder. He lasted all the way until the 4th round in that 1997 draft. There were 8 receivers that were chosen ahead of him that year. They give it to Rice, and another huge gain all the way to the 38-yard line.
This is the way they use Ray Rice. They'll motion him out of the backfield. Here they've got him over here in the bunch part of the formation. They've got him all the way over in here. And now they're just going to fake up into the line, bring him back around with LeRon McClain leading out ahead. Watch him bust through a couple tackles right here. A couple arm tackles. You're not going to arm tackle Ray Rice. He's too powerful. He's too low to the ground.
28-yard carry for Rice. Flacco on 1st down, and again he finds Derek Mason, and that's a gain of 12 as he's run out of bounds. There's a penalty flag where the tackle was made on the far side. And also a flag in the backfield. So a pair of infractions apparently here.
There were fouls against both teams. Holding, number 64 offense. Personal foul, face mask, number 33 defense. Penalties offset. Replay 1st down.
I talked to Bill Levy before the game. I said, "You're in a foul mood, aren't you? I'm not sure I'd want you to officiate my game."
Well, they didn't like you anyway, did they?
No, they love me.
Offsetting penalties. Flacco on 1st down. Wide open is Heap. Did he get it? No. Yes, he did. It looked like for a minute the official was waving it off and then said it is a catch by Heap at the 19.
You're going to see the athleticism of Todd Heap. He's going to cross the field all the way from right here and runs a simple out route. Now again, great hand and control. The key is, did he have control? No challenge, so obviously it holds.
Well, I got to tell you, it was very smart what Baltimore just did. They did not huddle up. They got right to the line of scrimmage.
I think we got a good view of it here. The key is, as we always say, do you have control all the way to the end? No, bobbled a little bit. They did a nice job getting the play off, because I believe on a challenge that would have been overruled.
See,
nice job by the Ravens.
Right, to me, that is a team that is extremely aware of what is going on around them.
With a second-year quarterback,
it's amazing.
Presence of mind to do that.
It was amazing. They did not huddle up, knowing there was a chance it could be reviewed. And they got the snap off, which of course would not allow that to happen. So you give a lot of credit to Flacco and that Raven offense to get to the line of scrimmage and get the play off.
And when you talk to coaches, the thing that comes up most about Joe Flacco is how cool he is, how calm under pressure. You can coach that, you can try to orchestrate it, but it takes someone under center. Here Cam Cameron obviously has done a great job with Joe Flacco to get him to understand you need to know what situation you're in.
1st and goal. Again, it's Todd Heap, and again, it's a touchdown.
This is 2 play action fakes with shots to Todd Heap coming off the end. This is an unbalanced line. Todd Heap is actually lining up at the tackle position. He is eligible. He was uncovered. Hard play fake because they were running the ball so well from that unbalanced extra lineman set that Todd Heap very easily gets in behind the secondary for his 2nd score of the day.
Chicago has turned it over 25 times this season. The opponents have made those turnovers into 86 points, 14 of those in less than a quarter here today.
And the Ravens had to go the length of the field. You can see there 81 yards to take this turnover in for the score. So it was a double whammy of turning the ball over and then your defense getting gashed for an 80-yard drive.
Very short kick. Rasheed Davis fields from the 15 and is dropped to the 27-yard line. Welcome back to Baltimore. Chicago trailing with 2:15 to play in the opening quarter, 14-0. Forte on first down, cuts it back to the inside out to the 31. Let's go back to the second interception today thrown by Cutler.
This is what I was talking about. You look at Jared Johnson here. Play fake at him, obviously responsibility for holding the edge, recognizes what's going on, and then watch. Has the intelligence and the athleticism to jump up, to knock the ball down and get himself an interception. Leads to the touchdown. Obviously the play fake we talked about out of the unbalanced set to the corner route to Todd Heap.
Again it's Forte, and again it's Jared Johnson making a play. All right, as a former play caller, if you're Chicago, you're trailing 14-0, but you're still in the first quarter, nearly 3 full quarters to play in this game. Do you have a tendency to get away from the running game?
You do, and you've got to stay with your original game plan. They've been spreading them out all day, but they do need to run the ball. It's only a 2-score differential, and you've actually moved the ball pretty well.
Aroma Shadu, and that is a first down catch out to the 37-yard line. Aroma Shadu had 2 catches for the year. In his career, he had 9 catches going into last week's game against Green Bay. Hauled in 8 passes, 76 yards, in his first career touchdown.
Well, with Devin Hester down, they've lost that ability to stretch the field, although Johnny Knox can do that. And boy, did he just explode onto the scene last week. We had that Chicago-Green Bay game, had a huge game for them to fill in for the injured Hester.
Good coverage that time. Of course, the Packers have won 5 in a row. The Steelers, unbelievably, have lost 5 in a row. Forte looking for a hole, and Ray Lewis right in the middle of it, along with Haloti Ngata.
Haloti Ngata, you start with him in the middle. When we drafted Haloti Ngata, I remember visiting with Coach Bellotti out at Oregon. And the thing that sold me on Ngata was he said, you know what, we just had to take him out because we couldn't practice. We couldn't get a playoff offensively. Wow. We just had to take him off the field.
Well, that's the end of the opening quarter, a quarter dominated by the Ravens. Chicago has moved the football on a pair of possessions. Nearly 100 yards of offense for the Bears in the opening quarter, but 2 interceptions leading to 2 Baltimore scores. We open the second quarter on a 3rd down and 6, and Cutler out of the shotgun. Blitz coming. Throws across the middle, and it is a first down reception made by Johnny Knox. He beat Ladarius Webb.
This is a nice job by Cutler. You're going to see Jamal McClain come free. Cutler moving around in the pocket and getting the ball off. It has been, protections have been a problem for him. Now they're going to hurry up, see if they can slow down the activity of this Baltimore Raven defense.
Well, you talked a great deal about this Ravens defense, and of course you won a Super Bowl here in Baltimore. You had 4 trips to the playoffs, one of the great defenses in the history of the game. What about the defense here in 2009?
Well, Coach Greg Mattson is doing a great job. Last year, you can see they were a dominant defense. Now, you can see the numbers on the right here. They're pretty darn good, Tom. He's doing a nice job with his defense. Last year, they were a dominant defense. This year, and part of the 7-6 record, they're very, very good, but maybe not quite as dominant as last year.
Aroma Shadu right through the fingertips. So another 3rd down upcoming for Chicago. Well, what a beautiful day it was in Baltimore after all the snow we had in the last 48 hours. With bright sunshine, not a cloud in the sky when this day began, and a lot of the snow already beginning to melt. I mean, it's going to take a long time for all of it to melt. But a great day for football. That's about the only snow you can still find inside this stadium. They left it where the Bears have their tickets for this game. Cutler. Nothing but running room ahead, and slides for a first down to the 35.
Again, nice job by Cutler moving around the pocket. The rush all coming upfield. Man coverage down the field, and you love that as a quarterback, because if you can get up past that rush, that means the only guy that doesn't have a man on him is me. Nice job converting on a first down. Again, a pretty nice drive by the Chicago Bears.
Yep, 10th play of the drive, spanning 39 yards. And they give it to first down to Matt Forte, and he is thrown to the deck for a gain of a yard.
You know, Matt Forte had a great rookie year. Actually very effective coming out of the backfield, 60+ receptions last year. Still on that same pace, just hasn't been able to find a rhythm in the running game this year. Chicago in a check mode. They've got to adapt to whatever the Ravens are giving them, run and pass.
Cutler again just steps up and slides for close to another first down right at the 25-yard line.
Well, the Baltimore Ravens now, again, you're just going to see upfield rush. Everybody's upfield. Someone at some point is going to have to stay home, or you're going to have to start pinching the interior of the line in order to account for Jay Cutler. That's 2 big plays now. He's been able to step up behind the rush and get positive yards.
Forte, good running room, and close to yet another Chicago first down at the 15. Kelly Talavu tripped him up, but not before. A gain of nearly 10. It is a gain of 10.
Now this is where it tests the mentality of the quarterback. You made a mistake down here before. Do you have the mental strength to fight through it? They're going to a no huddle. Again, Chicago does this to try to minimize the multiple packages of the Baltimore Ravens.
Forte looking for a hold. Avoids a couple of tackles, breaks it the other way, cuts it back to the inside. The ball is loose, and Aromashodu able to cover it up inside the 10, down at the 9-yard line.
This is just a great job by Matt Forte. You're going to see him. Forte is going to end up as he comes to the outside. Everything shut off to the strong side. It is completely wadded up here. I guarantee you this play was not designed to get back to the outside. The defense had collapsed to the ball, just what you want, and allowed him to get outside the perimeter of the defense.
Gain of 7, second down and 3. Khalil Bell checks into the backfield for Chicago and gets the first down, or very close to it. And depending on the spot of the football, he might be about a half a yard short.
Well, we've already seen from Lovie Smith, he's already gone for it on 1 4th down. If they don't get it here, I would expect much the same, particularly down 2 scores early in this game.
It is 3rd down and inches, and Bell stays in the backfield in the I formation with Jason McKee in front of him. First down inside the 5 to the 4-yard line. Greg was there on the tackle, but Bell a first down, and it's 1st and goal for Chicago.
This is a nice job by Bell. When you try to go horizontal against this very athletic and very fast Raven defense, particularly with Ray Lewis, who's the best there has ever played at this game, moving horizontally and filling to the outside, that's a good job by the young man Bell.
Bell will get it again. Picks up a couple of tough yards. 2nd and goal.
This is a good series for the Chicago Bears. We talked about them having to step up and learn in these last 3 games. There again, even on the goal line, no huddle, trying to minimize the packages of the Ravens.
Had an eye on Bennett. Step for step with him was Ladarius Webb. 3rd down and goal.
We saw that same throw in the game last week against the Green Bay Packers, Tom. They went no huddle, trying to keep base people on the field, get a matchup one-on-one on the outside and see if you can make one of those back shoulder throws.
3rd and goal just outside the 1. 18th play of this drive. And Baltimore spends a timeout. 3rd down and goal from just outside the 1 for Chicago. They've run the ball exceptionally well on this 17-play drive. 12 of the 17 running it.
I know they want to pound it in here, but this might be a great place for a play-action fake.
They run it and are denied. All right, you have a chance for points. You're trailing 14-0. I ask you again, Coach Brian Billick, do you go or kick?
You absolutely go for it. You've already said you were going to go for it. You did it before down here, a little bit further out. The ball's darn near touching the goal line. You got to go for it when you're a Chicago Bear team.
All right, give me a play call here then.
Well, you've just shoved it up. They've got to expect one more time. I think you've got to do something, either a play fake and a corner shot like we saw Baltimore do, maybe Jay Cutler with the play fake and getting around the perimeter. I don't know that you're going to be able to shove it up in against this Baltimore Raven team.
Well, they're not going to get it off before the play clock anyway, so Chicago spends a timeout. They're going to talk this over. Chicago trying to cap off what has been thus far an 18-play drive, but it's 4th and goal just outside the 1.
Now they're spreading everybody out here. They're either going to try to run a quick little trap or try. They got Greg Olsen up here at the top. Watch for a shot to the big tight end.
You called it. There's that shot, and it's incomplete. I have a hard time understanding that call. The Ravens have not had the football for very long in this game, but they certainly have made the most of it. Flacco already a couple of touchdown passes to Todd Heap. And Ray Rice, 6 carries, already 77 yards. Backed up against their own goal line and blown dead before it ever got snapped.
False start. Number 23 offense. Half the distance to the goal. 1st down.
That's Willis McGahee, who's just checked into the game.
And if you're going to false start, do it there where it costs you half a foot.
Right.
This is a great place. I used to love Bobby Bowden, the legendary Bobby Bowden's call down here. He used to call backed up offense. Don't get nervous. One of us is about to score. And that was the place they would take a vertical shot. You know, obviously the defense is going to stack up in there to stop the run.
Flacco, the quarterback keeper, picks up a couple of yards.
Well, they spread everybody out here. Jay Cutler gets the ball up quick. A little flat for a fade throw. You need to bring it in over to the top. You had the matchup you wanted with Greg Olsen on Foxworth. And a little mini celebration by Foxworth, and nothing finable. Just, whoop, okay, I'll do it by myself. I'm excited. But kind of a flat throw by Jay Cutler. You needed a little bit more arc. Let a big athlete like Greg Olsen get underneath it and use that size and athleticism. I'd look for a play fake and a shot down the field here.
They hand it to LaRon McClain, and he picks up, well, may have lost half a yard. Looking at the spot, Ogunleye there.
The reason I say that is the Bears have packed the box real heavily, and you saw Derek Mason out there one-on-one. We've already seen a good play-action fake and a deep curl by Derek Mason. Now you've got yourself backed up on the 3-yard line with a 3rd and long call. Protection concerns. Joe Flacco again very much about, I'll convert, but I cannot turn the ball over here.
Ray Rice comes back in for Baltimore. Justin Harper in at wide receiver. And on 3rd down, they just give it to Rice. And right there to meet him, Israel Idonije. So the Ravens will punt from their own end zone with 6:30 to play until halftime.
Well, this is kind of a capitulation by the part of the Ravens that said, you know what, we're just going to run this little draw right here, see if we can get you coming upfield, anticipating the pass. Again, now, if you're going to go far in the playoffs, they need to put a little more on Joe Flacco's shoulders to see if he can get them out of there and trust their young quarterback that he's not going to force the ball in and risk a turnover, all but backed up on your 3-yard line.
So standing and waiting at midfield is Bennett. And he'll feed it at the 49-yard line with some running room. Inside the 20. All the way down to the 5 and into the end zone is Earl Bennett. A punt return for a touchdown of 47 yards. And just like that, the Bears are one score away from tying this thing up.
Nice explosion by Bennett. When you're kicking out of the shadow of your own goal line, you're trying to get as much air as you can. Coverage gets by him a little bit, and then just some explosion speed, some poor open field tackling. Great job. Now you're going to see, does this give you the emotional lift? I'm going to be very interested in seeing how the Chicago Bears, and right now a way for John Harbaugh to challenge his team. When you jump up 14-0, now all of a sudden you're going to be faced with the emotional test of holding off these Chicago Bears.
Darius Webb still on his feet and brings it all the way out to the 42-yard line. So a good return by the rookie Webb. Well, we certainly take a moment, as they did before the game here in Baltimore today and stadiums all over the NFL, to remember Chris Henry, who tragically passed away earlier this week in Charlotte, North Carolina. A very troubled young man early in his career, but by all accounts, and we were in Cincinnati, Coach, a couple of weeks ago, had begun to turn his life around. And so many were so excited about what they were seeing from the man, Chris Henry. Ravens with the football, leading 14-7, and on first down, a short pickup on the throw to Ray Rice.
Well, Ray Rice leads this team in receptions, and part of the reason the increased completion percentage by Joe Flacco has been that anytime you can dump the ball off to Ray Rice. I don't know that it's a good thing that your running back leads your team in receiving. You probably need more of that presence down the field, but it shows you the 1-2 threat that Ray Rice gives you and why he's second in the league in yards from scrimmage. Second
only to Chris Johnson, who, by the way, had his 9th consecutive 100-yard rushing game earlier today. There's Todd Heap, and he's close to midfield. Third down and 3 coming up for Baltimore. Closing in on 4.5 to play until halftime.
Well, Todd Heap has been a big weapon, not as much as in years past, but he has increasingly been more of a weapon for Joe Flacco. And Todd Heap here, this has been the trouble for Todd Heap, is he's had a series of injuries over his career, and it's been tough staying on the field on a regular basis.
He injured his ankle, had to leave the game against Detroit last week. Third down and 2. Flacco out of the shotgun. Crossing route, catch made down to the 40-yard line by Demetrius Williams. Just his 4th catch of the year, and 2 of those came last week against the Lions.
The Baltimore Ravens are desperately in need of a big play, #1 go-to guy at wide receiver. Here they're breaking out very quickly into their version of the Wildcat.
Bringing in Troy Smith, the backup quarterback, with Flacco. Flacco flanked to the far side of the field. Smith, the former Heisman Trophy winner out of Ohio State, with a nice carry. A gain of 9 for Smith, who had a rushing touchdown in that route over the Lions last Sunday.
And it's a very effective changeup for him. Here you see in kind of a semi-pistol, anytime in gun you have someone behind you, little quick play fake, reading the option. And again, Troy Smith was not necessarily an option or open field spread guy at Ohio State, using it effectively here.
They keep Smith in the game. And Chicago doesn't like what it saw on the defensive side and spends a timeout. So Flacco back up under center after Chicago was confused defensively with Troy Smith in the game. Play fake, Flacco throws to the far side. A wide open receiver is Derek Mason. And that's a first down to the 17. He faked it to the back. He faked the end around to Williams and hooks up with Mason.
We've seen this reverse earlier with the Ray Rice. So here, Derek Mason, no, just buy time. Buy time. Let the fake happen. Now late in the route, I've got to beat the guy one-on-one, counting on the fake to pull coverage out from underneath.
Troy Smith right back in there. Flacco this time flanked to the right. Smith breaks a tackle and lunges forward to the 15-yard line. He picks up a couple of yards.
And this can be an effective series or effective combination for Cam Cameron and the Baltimore Ravens. Inside the red zone, we've said it many times, things get compressed. And the ability to run the ball, the quarterback, again, in a running play is basically useless if all he's doing is handing off the ball. You add another weapon when you do this, particularly down in the red zone. Now they're back to a normal formation alignment.
Although they bring in an extra lineman.
Yes, they do. They've been doing that for a little bit here. A little bit extra. Chris Chester, a good athlete, in at the extra tight end position.
Short drop, pump fake. Down to the end zone to Mason. Out of bounds. Good coverage by Charles Tillman. Tillman's been a real good player since being drafted in the second round in 2003 out of Louisiana Lafayette.
All about timing there. Nice job. It's can I get it up and out of my hand quick enough? They're just that half a step late on the throw, not allowing Derek Mason enough time or space on the field to get his second foot down. Flacco
a hit on 8 in a row until that incompletion. 1 second away from a 2-minute warning. It's a third down and 9. Blitz coming. Flacco steps up. Looking around. He'll keep it. And runs out of bounds. We haven't talked much this season about Cleveland offensively, but after Ted Ginn Jr. became the first player in league history earlier this year to run 2 kickoffs back for better than 100 yards in the same game, Joshua Cribbs does the same thing today. And how about Jerome Harrison getting a chance to play, carries for nearly 300 yards in a wild one, Cleveland against Kansas City. A 30-yard field goal try, bad snap, and the kick is wide right.
Well, they felt like they had solved their kicking problems. Field goal kicking has caused them a problem during the course of the season. They brought in Billy Cundiff to solve those problems. Now this is just a bad high snap. Sam Cook, nice job getting it down on the tee, but a little bit late. The kicking woes have cost the Baltimore Ravens this year, Tom.
It's Matt Catula, who is in his 5th year as a long snapper. But that one got away from him. And he's hearing about it. It's the only time you talk about those guys.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's...
So now Chicago, 1 timeout remaining. 1:49 to play, and Cutler didn't like what he saw. Great coverage in the secondary. Was under heavy pressure by Jared Johnson and just throws it in the ground.
Well, that was supposed to be a screen, and he saw that was going nowhere. They had that snuffed out. Jared Johnson, again, intelligently saw what was going on. So rather than take the risk, he just dirted it.
Well, they hand it off to Forte on a 2nd down. He breaks it to the outside and then runs out of bounds, which stops the clock with 1:38 to play and a 3rd down upcoming. This becomes, I'm not going to say a critical down in this game, but an interesting one nonetheless. Should Chicago fail to get a 1st down, Baltimore has 2 timeouts remaining.
And that's your priorities when you run a 2-minute offense. One, you'd like to score, but number 2 is do not give the ball back to the other team so they can execute their 2-minute offense.
Cutler rolling, looking down the field, and then runs out of bounds.
Yeah, at that point, if you know you're not going to get the third down, like a good running back at the end of a game trying to run out the game, stay in bounds. Make the Ravens utilize a timeout and take one of those 2 timeouts off the board. Now they're going to get the ball back with better than 1:20 on the clock and 2 timeouts.
Chris Carr waiting on the Brad Maynard punt. Carr stands at his own 30. Short punt. Carr bobbled it, and then is thrown down at the 42-yard line.
Well, we already talked about Joe Flacco making a heads-up play to save a challenge early in the game.
Short completion to Rice, and he's out to the 47-yard line. Clock down to 1:10, continuing to run.
Their objective here is about 15, 20 yards, probably full 20, to get themselves in field goal position, see if they can salvage the earlier missed field goal.
Blitz coming. Heat, first down catch, steps out of bounds at the 45.
You know, and this is part of the development for Joe Flacco as well. We talk about the Chicago Bears getting something out of these last 3 games. Again, Joe Flacco is only in his 2nd year. This is valuable time for Joe Flacco. A 2-minute offense, working the clock. How many timeouts do I have? What's the priority? Because this will pay dividends as they get into that playoffs.
Ravens coming into play at 7-6. Again, lay it off for Rice, and he will sprint to the sideline and couldn't get out of bounds. Clock will continue to roll. The Ravens say timeout. Charles Tillman able to throw him to the ground before Rice could get to the sideline.
Well, I think Ray Rice is pleading the case for horse collar, but there's a lot of elements to the horse collar. You got to get in behind the pads. You've got to whip your legs around. Here, this is just a good tackle. He didn't whip back under his legs. His hands were outside the back of the pads. That's a legitimate tackle. I've enjoyed watching Ray Rice play, Tom. I tell you what, he's an impactful back. We've already talked about him being 2nd in the league in yards from scrimmage. Both as a receiver, a ball carrier, and his mental attitude. He's got that chip of a little man on his shoulder, and he's not afraid to say, you know what, I'm willing to show you I'm as good as what's anything out there.
2nd down and 11. Flacco again to Rice, and he just bowls forward inside the 40 down to the 37-yard line, and the final timeout of the half is spent by the Ravens. 3rd down and a couple of yards. Rice out of the backfield with blockers in front of him. And Rice run out of bounds all the way down at the 8-yard line. There is a penalty flag on the field.
Illegal formation.
Wow.
Number 74 was on the end of the line of scrimmage. 5-yard penalty. Repeat 3rd down.
That's a heralded rookie, the #1 pick, Michael Orr, who of course is playing left tackle again here today.
I want you to watch this throw. This is an incredibly accurate throw. Now you're thinking, coach, this is just a little flare over. Look at him downhill. He's able to catch that and in full stride, not so much as even have to skip or blink. That's one of those little big plays by a quarterback. That's an incredibly accurate throw that gave him an opportunity to make a play like that.
Well, what a block, though, thrown by O'Neal Cousins, playing right tackle on that last play. So 3rd down and 6. Flacco just throws it in the air to Derek Mason. No flag. Well, now a 4th down. You have 19 seconds left. Why wouldn't you go for it here? You're well out of field goal range, and really, what's the point in punting?
Well, but you don't want to give, again, you don't want to give the ball back to the Chicago Bears, because even if it's just to keep them in position for a Hail Mary pass, you got to be about the 50-yard line to take any kind of shot like that.
All right.
I think this is probably the prudent thing to do. Obviously, the odds against you, not much good can come out of it.
We'll see if Bennett even gets a chance to return it. He brought one back officially 49 yards, and they're not even going to let him get near the ball. There's a penalty flag back where Sam Koch put a foot on it.
Kicker, number 87 of the defense. 5-yard penalty will not result in a first down.
It's Kellen Davis, a backup tight end.
Now, Tom, to me, this changes the price of poker here a little bit. Your point earlier, when you're talking about 4th and 7 or so, the odds, now you're going to turn this into a 4th and 2. You're well on your side of the 40. I don't know that now your point of maybe we take a shot here isn't worth doing.
Well, that penalty was declined after all by Baltimore, so the Bears will get the football.
Yeah, they're content to finish out the half like that, and you're up by the 1 score. Again, the idea of the chance of maybe getting at a 2-score differential might have been worth a shot, but obviously this is the smart thing to do. I've never been accused of being too smart, so I probably would have gone for it.
Oh, you've been accused of being too smart.
But yeah,
Our production meetings every Saturday night.
Yeah, another word added to it when you say that.
A knee taken by Cutler will run out the clock on this opening stanza. And we're lucky to be with you each and every Sunday.
I appreciate that. In any stadium.
So here we go to begin the second half. You may remember the Ravens won the toss and deferred. So Baltimore gets a football to begin this second half, and this is Ladarius Webb from the 10-yard line, and he spins his way out to the 35. Flacco in the opening half hit on 12 of 15, 112 yards, threw 2 touchdowns, both of them to his tight end Todd Heap. Ray Rice 7 carries, 76 yards. Of course, they had a chance in the final 2 minutes to make it a 10-point lead, but a high snap forcing an errant kick on a field goal try by Billy Cundiff. So only a 7-point game as this second half is underway. Flacco throws on first down, and another catch for Derek Mason. Talk about Mason already getting to 850 in his career. He came in 98 yards shy of 11,000 of those in his 13 years. And he only needs 159 yards from now and over the last 3 games, 2.5 games now, for his 8th 1,000-yard receiving season.
And I promise you, I've never worked with a player that worked any harder than Derek Mason, the unbelievable professional.
Rice on first down, tackled right at midfield by Tommy Harris. Also in on the stop, Lance Briggs.
And there's still some probing going on here. Joe Flacco, you've already seen a couple quick play action fakes with throws in behind. Got a guy down here, Ogunleye. Be a big loss for them. He's rotated in, particularly in nickel situations. We'll see how he's doing when we come back.
Adewale Ogunleye just now getting to his feet and walking to the sideline. Of course, he's a free agent at the end of this year.
Right here at the top. Brings himself down. No, I'm sorry, I missed him. He's right here coming down in. Looks like he just kind of gets whipped in. You see a bodies and the legs flipping up under one another right there. Looks like he maybe just got caught in the shins. Hopefully it's just that, not an angle.
Well, 2nd down and 7 just underway to begin this second half. And Rice looking for running room, and none there. Nick Roach dropped him for a 3-yard loss. So the 3rd and long upcoming for the Ravens.
The Ravens have been a very good 3rd down team, mostly because they've been kept it to a very manageable 3rd down. This obviously stretches you a little bit more, but they're in the top 10 in the league in 3rd down conversions. Obviously, with the growth and maturity of Joe Flacco, a big part of it.
They're showing blitz. They drop back into coverage and rush 4 and lofted to the sideline. A reception is good enough for a first down to the 31-yard line made by Demetrius Williams, a gain of 20.
Demetrius Williams here again, just that deep outside route. corner route, a 7 route, drops it in, just giving him enough time. Joe Flacco putting just the right arch on it. Outstanding throw.
The Ravens convert on the 3rd and long, and on the 1st down, Flacco to throw it, looking to the end zone. And what a catch made by Williams. It is a touchdown. Thrown into double coverage, and Demetrius Williams got his body right in between Ofalava and Tillman and snatched it away.
Pass interference, number 33 defense. Penalty is declined. Touchdown.
Same kind of route, going to the deep 7 route. This is what Demetrius Williams can do. He's got great leaping ability, very athletic receiver. I started to say earlier, Tom, the Ravens are in need of a dominant #1 go-to guy. I thought for a while clearly that Demetrius Williams had the ability to do that, but he dropped to a 4th round pick because he was injured in college. He's been injured in his pro career. If he can stay healthy, he can be that dominant #1 go-to guy that the Ravens so desperately need.
(21-7), Baltimore in front, opening minutes of this 3rd quarter. Williams a couple of big catches, not only the touchdown catch, but on the 3rd and 9, the 20-yard reception as well from Flacco.
And both throws by Joe Flacco showed great air, giving a receiver a chance to catch the ball. The first one, stutter of feet out of bounds, and then allowing Demetrius Williams to go up for the big touchdown catch. Nice air on his throws.
Johnny Knox a couple of yards deep in his own end zone, and the ball is loose. It looks like the Ravens have it. They do. Looked like Kerry Williams stripped it away from Johnny Knox.
And this is just good move by Knox. He looks like he's going to have some area to run in here. Slips by the first tackler and then just kind of gets caught off guard. Nice job by, I think it's Tyree. No, Tyree gets the ball, 29. Knocks it out, just being at the right place at the right time. Great job on the coverage team of the Baltimore Ravens, and here they are again on a short field.
And here they are again with Troy Smith out of the shotgun, and Flacco at the top of your screen, flanked to the right. They throw it to Flacco, and he'll throw it. Looking for heat. Defended beautifully by Kevin Payne.
Well, typically after a turnover, particularly in a plus territory of your opponent, you'll look for that big play, that turnaround, whether it's a deep 9 route on the outside. There's some trickeration going out of their version of the Wildcat, getting it to Smith, and then the double pass to Joe Flacco. Now you'll see them maybe settle down in here, get back into pounding the ball.
2nd down and 10, and Flacco out of the shotgun with Ray Rice standing right next to him. Danielle Manning coming up to make the tackle on Rice after a gain of a yard. Some pushing and shoving going on after the play. Alex Brown and Michael Orr.
I mentioned earlier, Tom, I love that Joe Flacco, if I'm the Baltimore Ravens and John Harbaugh, that Joe Flacco's being put in these situations. After 2 years, you may be thinking, well, what the heck? I mean, the guy's been playing long enough. You can't put a young quarterback in enough of these types of situations in the red zone, 3rd and long. How are you going to produce?
There's your answer. Mason to the 18, and that's a 1st down.
Nice job, Flacco, getting borne down on with the pressure. Watch the cool and the calm of this guy. A free runner coming right at him, never lost focus. Beautiful pass into Derek Mason for the 1st down.
And hurry up mode for Flacco and the Ravens. Give it to Rice. Going after a couple of big runs on the first 2 possessions for Baltimore. Chicago has really slowed Rice, at least in the running game, down.
Well, they knew that both clubs were going to want to run the ball coming in. And because of that, they've built that 8-man front to limit a guy like Rice. But that's what allowed Joe Flacco to make some throws in behind that 8-man front, because the coverage is now one-on-one on the outside. You got a veteran like Derek Mason. We've seen 2 great throws to Demetrius Williams.
Play action. Flacco to the corner. Catch made. Touchdown, Derek Mason.
Joe Flacco's ability to throw the ball to the outside. These are 3 outstanding, well-timed outside throws, giving the receiver plenty of time to make the catch. And watch the athleticism of Derek Mason at the last second to be able to get your feet in bounds, turn the body, and put the ball in a position where you get a touchdown. Outstanding throw by Joe Flacco. Incredibly athletic move by Derek Mason.
Chicago's offense has not been on the field yet in this second half, and the Ravens have scored 2 touchdowns. Derek Mason, a touchdown reception, 18 yards from Joe Flacco. And 28-7 our score with the Ravens in front. 3 turnovers by the Bears, 2 interceptions. The fumble a moment ago on a kickoff return by Knox. And the Ravens have produced 21 points off those 3 turnovers. Danielle Manning rather than Knox back this time. And Manning a good return out to the 33.
Here you're going to see down at the bottom, Derek Mason makes a little post corner move, and then Joe Flacco does a great job of bringing him back to the catchable ball right at the pylon. Great 7 route by Derek Mason.
So a penalty backs up the Bears inside their 10-yard line to the 9. Their first offensive play from scrimmage in the second half. Play fake to Forte. They throw it to him. Forte lost the ball. Is this the 4th Chicago turnover of the game? Already 21 points scored by the Ravens off 3 Bears turnovers. There were about 2 or 3 players that had paws on the football during the fumble.
I'm seeing a whole bunch of purple jerseys, and if there's a white jersey underneath there, he's all by himself.
Ravens are saying it's their football, and they're correct. It was stripped out of there by Nada, and he may have been the player who covered it up eventually. How'd you like to be at the bottom of the pile with this guy trying to wrestle with him?
Like I said, there are a whole bunch of purple jerseys, and now he just gets to the outside, gets stymied, and then just as he goes by, reaches up.
Baltimore recovered the ball after the play.
And now he's got no chance. Everybody's scrambling for it. Like I said before many times, that thing probably changed hands a few times. But Nada just reaching up, and now it's a mad dash for the ball underneath.
And then at the end of all that, unsportsmanlike conduct against Terrell Suggs. And so rather than having the ball at the 8-yard line, a 15-yard penalty will put it at the 23.
And that's the kind of stuff, boy, I tell you what, that will get you beat in a playoff game. That kind of penalty that moves you off the goal line. John Harbaugh will address that, I promise you.
Rice still on his feet, but nowhere to go. That'll be a yard loss, 1.5 yard loss on first down for Ray Rice. And the first man there was Mark Anderson.
Not incredible. We had to trade up. We traded with Cleveland, swapped positions actually with the Cleveland Browns to go get Nada. He was a blue chipper on our board that had dropped down. I forget whether it was the 12th or 13th pick in the draft. And I know John Harbaugh is loving having the presence of a Haloti Ngata on his team.
Missed him.
On a 2nd down and 12. Inside the 25, stop to the 23 is Rice. Flacco's had a huge day, thanks in large part to Chicago turnovers.
Yeah, it'd be scary to think how big a day would be if he weren't on all these short fields, but this is an outstanding day. Ray Rice, again, following up with an outstanding week last week, where he had better than 160 yards rushing the ball. And Derek Mason, the venerable veteran, having one of his patented impact days.
3rd down out of the shotgun, blitz coming. Corner of the end zone incomplete. Outstanding coverage by Charles Tillman on Demetrius Williams.
Got a great jam on him off the line, all inside the 5-yard area. Never really gave Demetrius a chance to get off it and get down the field to make one of those athletic jump for the balls that we've already seen him come down with.
This will be right at a 40-yard field goal try by Cundiff, who's missed already today after a bad snap in the final 2 minutes of the first half. Good snap, good hold, and a good kick. It was 14-7 at halftime. Now 31-7, and we're not even midway through this 3rd quarter in Baltimore. Lovie Smith's Bears, the 4th team in NFL history to play in a Super Bowl in 1 year and then fail to make the playoffs in 3 consecutive years. They have been eliminated officially this season from reaching the postseason. Danielle Manning from the 10. And he stopped at the 25. Packers trailing in Pittsburgh 21-14, that game in the 3rd quarter. And 1st down, Cutler just throws it away.
Tom, one of the things that the Baltimore Ravens have to get under control, they're in the top 10 in the league in penalties. Now, this is a little ticky-tack. I know it doesn't seem like much, but he took his helmet off, and Terrell knew right away, no, that's wrong. I got to put it back on. But the officials have to call that. That is the rule. But penalties have been an issue for the Baltimore Ravens. They're 3rd worst in the National Football League in terms of the most penalties. They're going to have to get that under control to move along in the playoffs.
Blitz coming, and it's underthrown. That is not a catch by Bennett. Well, with everything that has taken place over the last 2.5 days in the NFL, if the Ravens win out today, the next 2 weeks, next one a huge game against Pittsburgh, the defending champions, a great rivalry, and then the final game of the year against Oakland. If the Ravens win out, they will be in the playoffs.
And they will pick up the moniker of that team you don't want to see in the playoffs because of the balance, the way they're playing defensively, the ability to run the ball with Ray Rice.
Cutler scrambling. And down he goes.
This is such an athletic defense and the ability to run in the open field. And as you see here, you got Ray Lewis. Watch the way he moves laterally within the flow of the play. This is why once you get outside, right now it looks like Jay Cutler has the angle, but Ray Lewis is going to run you down. It's very hard to go horizontal against this athletic Ravens team.
Brad Maynard punts. Chris Carr from the 30 and out to the 33. Ladarius Webb wobbly, making his way to the Ravens sideline and straight into the locker room.
Boy, that would be a big loss for these Ravens. They've had some injuries on the back end, and this young rookie stepping up has been a bit of a salvation for them.
Fabian Washington injured. Samari rolled out for the year.
Okay.
Let's see if we can pick up the injury a moment ago to Webb. There he is, 21.
Yeah, anytime you get tied up on a special teams play like this, and he just came down on it wrong. How many times have we seen that? Not really tied up with the player, gets up in the air and comes down in just a subtle tweak. Hopefully it's just a tweak of an ankle, possibly in the end nothing more serious than that.
Chicago's done a pretty doggone good job, as we brought up earlier, in shutting down this Baltimore running game since the first quarter.
Yeah, and they're a defense capable of that. We talked about last week when we had Chicago that Lovie Smith, who has taken over the play calling duties as the defensive coordinator per se all season long, they've had to deal with a number of injuries. They're a solid defense, but the combination with no running game has been a terrible 1-2 punch all year long for the Chicago Bears.
Third down, and it's Derek Mason again. Across midfield, a first down for Baltimore.
You know, a lot's been made of the fact that the Baltimore Ravens have not been the running team they were last year. You can see last year, you can define who you are on first down. You look at what a team does on first down. Here you can see last year, taking care of the rookie quarterback, 70% run. That's all well and good, but that 50-50 ratio they've got going this year is a much healthier profile going down the way. The ability to throw the ball and run it as good as they were last year. The 50-50 profile they have right now on first down is a good profile.
Rice for a yard. His last 10 carries, only 19 yards for Rice after getting 77 yards on his first 6 carries. All right, the playoff picture. It's a huge game going on right now between San Diego and Cincinnati. Basically, the number 2 seed is on the line in that game. And, of course, the Bengals trying to play through the sadness of losing teammate Chris Henry earlier in the week, and then travel all the way to San Diego to battle a very good and very hot Charger team. Rice out of the backfield of the 42. So those were your division leaders. Then the wild card. And due to the Dolphins losing, the Jets losing, and the Jaguars losing, that means if the Ravens win out, the Ravens would be 10-6. And obviously, the Dolphins, Jets, and Jaguars have seen 10-6 go by the wayside. So now it is clearly all on the plate right in front of them for the Baltimore Ravens.
And that's all you can ask for with a very favorable schedule in front of them with Pittsburgh and then the Oakland Raiders.
Blitz coming. Flacco rolling, flag down, and that'll be a hold, more than likely.
Illa uses the hands to the face, number 74. Penalties decline. 4th down.
They may have meant 64.
Yeah, I'm not
there.
sure he didn't mean Cousins. 64 hands got outside a little bit.
Over in the NFC, of course, the Saints losing for the first time last night. All of a sudden, home field advantage throughout the playoffs becomes quite interesting with 2 games to go. Minnesota will play later tonight. And then in the wild card, the Packers, huge win last night for Dallas.
Absolutely. How impressive were the Dallas Cowboys going into New Orleans and getting the win against the Saints?
Of course, the Dallas still with 2 games to go, one against Washington and the other against Philly, where the division title will be on the line. 31-7. And Khalil Bell on first down for a yard. Very, very quiet for Chicago. Had a couple of decent drives that ended on interceptions in the opening half. Their only touchdown came on a punt return of 49 yards by Earl Bennett. And I'm sure so many in Chicago, Brian Billick, are wondering about that man, Jay Cutler. On first down, he fires a strike to Bennett. One Vanderbilt Commodore to another out to the 33. You know, you invest 2 first-round draft choices, a 3rd-round draft choice, a starting quarterback in Kyle Orton, $20 million in guaranteed money. Forget the rest of the salary. That $20 million is guaranteed. On the contract extension, the Bears gave Cutler to 2013 after they got him from Denver. Here he's thrown 2 more interceptions today, giving him a league-high 24 on the year.
Well, and the thing that concerns you, and I've got to say, I'm a Jay Cutler fan, or I was coming in. I really thought he was going to be something special for the Chicago Bears, their commitment to the run, Forte coming off the rookie year. But then, and you look at these numbers, you've got to question when you look at the 1,200 throws, 37 touchdown interceptions compared to the numbers this year. You can look at that and say, well, there's got to be some hope there that whatever went wrong this year was the aberration. But I'm not sure that's the case.
Under heavy pressure, it's incomplete.
What concerns me, Tom, is, and I'm hesitant to say this, but he is beginning to look Jeff George-ish. And what I mean by that is the unrealized potential. That's what he's going to have to face going forward. Here it's just trying to affect the pressure by just dropping the ball off. And again, under a little pressure, overthrows it. But Jay Cutler has the ability, but so far it has been unrealized, particularly this year in Chicago, and it's got to be a concern.
That one thrown 20 yards out of bounds. And the Bears will punt. The knee-jerk reaction has been in Chicago this year. Something must be wrong with the play calling. Something must be wrong with the offensive coordinator. I mean, there are a million reasons and a million fingers being pointed. Offensive line changing of the guard to some extent there. They brought in Orlando Pace. That hasn't worked out the way they had hoped. Clearly, Chris Williams is their left tackle of the future, as this one's returned by Carr close to midfield. Willis McGahee for a yard.
Well, not much of a comparison here. The young Joe Flacco obviously has had things his way in terms of the short field, the turnovers. But Jay Cutler, all the things you alluded to, Tom, this organization, though, I've got to tell you, in watching them and listening to them all week long, has bigger issues beyond Jay Cutler. There's a lot of things going on. The support from management, the comments have been made about Lovie Smith. Yes, he's coming back, but the commitment to the direction they're going, that's a concern.
Ball is loose. Finally, he is picked up. And running out of bounds is Willis McGahee. So he alertly able to find that football on the fumble by Flacco.
Flacco gets back in the pocket and looks like all of a sudden it's stripped. The ball gets knocked out. Nice pressure on the outside. And then it's just a mad scramble to come up with it. Willis McGahee. At that point, you love him picking up and going. As a coach, you're saying, just get on it. Just secure the ball. We got things going our way. But Willis McGahee salvaging the turnover there for the Ravens.
Third down at 19. Flacco to McGahee out of the backfield. And he's back to the original line of scrimmage. Baltimore will punt.
You know, in the time, this tells kind of a different story, because for Chicago, because of the turnovers, they did start to move the ball. Time of possession here is balanced. You look at that and say, well, it should be a balanced game. But anytime you turn the ball over, you can throw the clock out the window, because time of possession, it's all about what did you come away with that time of possession. For the Ravens, it meant scores. For the Chicago Bears, it meant turnovers.
Well, the final seconds will tick off, ending this third quarter. Set to begin the fourth quarter. 14-0 the score at the end of a quarter. The Bears got the punt return for a touchdown by Earl Bennett in the second quarter. And then a third quarter in every way, shape, and form owned by the home team. That one nearly blocked. As Sam Cook's punt is out of bounds at the 20-yard line. Corey Graham just missed blocking that one. Cutler 9 of 22 for 90 yards, 2 interceptions, leading to 2 Baltimore touchdowns. Joe Flacco, meanwhile, has only missed on 6 of his pass attempts, and the 4 TDs thanks in large part to the turnovers. Well, Cutler can't even take a breath today. Kelly Gregg smothers him for the sack there, back at the 18.
If you were going to draw a caricature of a nose guard, wouldn't he look like that?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Kelly Gregg, you got to love Kelly Gregg when he came in as a developmental squad player for us.
See, I like that picture better.
You want me to play fullback, coach? I'll play fullback. You need me on tight end? I'll play tight end. You need me to play center? I'll play center. Whatever you wanted, Kelly Gregg was going to be there for you.
Cutler throws incomplete. A flag back where Cutler was cutting it loose.
Personal foul, face mask on the passing team. Half the distance to the goal. Repeat, second down.
That may have been Desmond Clark grabbing a hold of Antoine Barnes' face mask. Clark, number 88. Well, the right tackle,
just right there. You could see it right there at the top as he went by, reached up and got a clear hold of the face mask on Antoine Barnes.
So it was Kevin Schaefer, the right tackle. 3rd and 13. They'll hand it off to Forte and punt it. We talked about San Diego could all but lock up that number 2 spot in the seeding of the AFC with a victory over the Bengals today at home. Wow. Some of the diehards hanging around with nearly a full quarter still to play, and the home team comfortably in front, 31-7. Chile.
This is their last home game. They want to take every minute of it in.
Incomplete on the first down throw to McGahee. Some of the late afternoon games underway. We told you about San Diego in front of Cincinnati 24-13. Denver in a tight one, leading by 3 over Oakland. Boy, look at Seattle at home, trailing Tampa Bay 21-7. Told you about the Steelers leading Green Bay, and Philadelphia, a 7-point lead. That game in Philly, along with this game, the start times moved back because of all of the snow along the eastern seaboard. Of course, one of the big stories around the league during this week, Brian Billick, was Mike Holmgren saying no to the possibility of returning to the Seattle Seahawks after meeting for better than 2 days with Mr. Lerner, the owner of the Cleveland Browns.
Well, I can't remember a year where there was so much going on, and yet you still have coaches in place. It's a little concerning as a coach when you see this kind of movement going on, but Mike Holmgren clearly showing and expressing an interest to get back into the league, at least at the administrative level.
And yeah, that's right. In fairness to Holmgren, he is not looking for somebody's job as a coach.
Correct. But you look at the situation in Washington, same thing now. I'm disturbed by, as a coach, to hear however that goes down in Washington, that these kind of conversations go on when you've got a coach in place. If you've told him that you're done, that's fair. And Mike Shanahan's a wonderful coach, but as someone in the profession, I'm very uncomfortable when someone's out there working their tail off and all of a sudden the future's already decided. I just don't think it's professional.
Punted away by Cook. Bennett spun away from the first would-be tackler, then is dropped right where he started at the 35-yard line. Baltimore has removed Ray Lewis from the game, giving the 14-year veteran nearly an entire quarter off, leading 31-7. Bears on first down. We'll hand it off to Forte and a gain of 9.
You know, a lot's been made of the changing profile of the Baltimore Ravens defense, and that they're not pressuring as much. As you can see here, Rex Ryan did a great job. He's doing a phenomenal job in New York. But Greg Mattison's doing a great job here. Yeah, they're not pressuring quite as much, but it's not as dramatic as a lot of people want to make out. And he's dealing with a back end that's a little more vulnerable. Injuries and the like. He's got to make sure he does not leave them vulnerable. I think he's done a great job.
Forte denied first down yardage, lost a couple of yards on 2nd and 1. You know, Mattison last year, his first year in the NFL serving as the linebackers coach after 32 years on the collegiate level, the final 10 as a co-defensive coordinator at the University of Florida under Urban Meyer. He coached under Jack Harbaugh, John's father, at Western Michigan in the early 1980s. Clearly made an impression on John Harbaugh. Throw to the sideline and incomplete. He had an eye on Aroma-Shadu. So the Bears will punt it again.
Yeah, that's not a real high percentage pass on a third and 2. A fade route to the outside. Greg Mattison, go back to your point, Tom. He has done a heck of a job, and that's tough when you replace a coach that is as popular and as successful as a Rex Ryan. But the players love Coach Mattison. They really do. They love his temperament. I think all those years in the college game, they love playing for him, and he's done a great job.
Maynard puts a foot on it. Carr, a fair catch. Brian Billick, you were talking a short while ago about the Chicago Bears franchise and organization, initially starting with Jay Cutler and the problems that Cutler has had his first season, moving across the wires right now. Apparently comments made by Jerry Angelo, the general manager of the Chicago Bears, earlier today. He was quoted as saying, at the end of the year, we sit down, we talk, referring to he and Lovie Smith. It's not about money. It's about doing what we feel we need to do better to be a better football team. So while there was one report out of Chicago yesterday that regardless of what happens as far as the outcome is concerned over these final 3 games of the Bears, that Lovie Smith's job was quote unquote safe. Now all of a sudden, if those quotes indeed are accurate, and those are quotes, and they are moving across the wires as we speak, where you have the general manager who is basically not committing one way or another to having a guy who's under contract back next year.
And that's understandable. That's the standard line that you're going to get to the end of the year and evaluate things. But there are comments coming out of Chicago. The issues for the Chicago Bears go beyond Jay Cutler. You've got your number 1 player, Brian Urlacher, saying he doesn't like the personality of the team. You got the general manager saying we have the talent good enough to go to the playoffs.
Flacco sacked back at the 15.
That's just not a healthy atmosphere to be in. Basically, the general manager is saying, you know what, our talent's good enough, so it must be the coaching. The number 1 player says, I don't like our personality. Those things are going to have to be brought under control, and it's going to have to be organizationally and done with a partnership, not from a standpoint of pointing fingers saying, well, it's this guy or it's that guy. And that's what the Chicago Bears are going to have to address when they sit down and have these conversations.
Loss of 11 on the sack, 2nd down and 21. McGahee for a yard.
Now let me tell you what the coaches are looking for in this instance. I'm talking about John Harbaugh. you're sitting here. We got 8:50 left in the game. Clearly, the game in hand. You got a team heading to the playoffs. If I can finish out, got the Pittsburgh Steelers on the horizon. Right now, it's about how do we finish. How do we all of a sudden start having penalties? Do we have balls bouncing in? You want to look good to finish out. You want to keep that momentum, show that you can be that kind of team. So there are priorities finishing out this game for the Baltimore Ravens, and I know that's what head coach John Harbaugh wants to see.
3rd and 20. One-handed catch made by McGahee. And then he's dropped to the 21, so the Ravens will punt.
Again, just a little screen pass. This is a pretty catch by Willis McGahee. And because of the emergence of Ray Rice, Willis McGahee has kind of been put in the shadow of Ray Rice. And you got to give him credit, very prideful veteran that has just played through it, wants to be a part of this team, and you have to be impressed with the attitude he has had, even though he's been supplanted by the second-year Ray Rice.
A lot of the folks here in Baltimore will pack it in and make their way home, where for a lot of them, they're going to have to start getting to work on shoveling that driveway if they haven't gotten to it already. An early Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to all of you. Of course, Christmas Day will come our way, Coach Billick, before we convene again next Sunday in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
We get to warm up in Green Bay, right?
Oh, yeah.
Go right from this to Green Bay. And we got to give a shout out again to Roy Summerhoff, who's the director of operations here at the stadium. Just a phenomenal job, they and the city, in terms of getting the fans here an enjoyable experience. Not an easy thing to do. A lot of people working long hours. I'm sure Roy hadn't been to bed in 2 days. They did a great job staging this game.
Well, I tell you what, a lot of members of our crew certainly deserve a tip of the hat. I mean, we had some of the members of our crew each and every week that, like many of you, I'm sure, watching, stranded one place or another and spent the night at an airport, traveling all night, landing one place, driving 12, 14 hours. We thank them very, very much for doing so. And you know what? A woman who works with us every single week back at Fox Travel, Paige Mullins.
Oh, boy.
Working around the clock to make sure that these guys could get put on another flight, wait and stand by, and we thank her and all the folks in travel. I mean, a lot of people working a lot of hours, and they'd rather be home during the holidays with their family. Dominique Foxworth on the 3rd interception of the game by Cutler. And that will pretty much tie a ribbon around this one, although I think that bow was tied quite a while ago.
This is the kind of finish I'm talking about, staying focused. The Ravens obviously here, and Cutler's just having to throw something up this stage of the game, throw it up, see what can happen. Foxworth jumps underneath, came to the Ravens from Atlanta. Great offseason pickup, great cover corner, and is a big pickup for them given some of the injuries they've had on the back end. We talked earlier about them not blitzing as much, and that's primarily because they don't want to leave themselves vulnerable. It's fine to pressure, but not if you're going to give up big plays. The Ravens have done a good job. They're heading towards the playoff, I think, on a huge up note, and they're going to make themselves and their presence felt in the playoffs.
Now let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here as Troy Smith takes over for Flacco at quarterback. Brian, you know better than anybody, or as well as anybody. Let's put it that way. The Steelers at home today. That is a huge win. It looks like they're on their way with a 10-point lead to keep their very dim playoff hopes alive, but alive nonetheless. And all of a sudden, next week, Flacco and company go to Pittsburgh to take on those Steelers. One of the great rivalries in the NFL. That first game could have gone either way. That's an overtime win for Baltimore.
Without Ben Roethlisberger, who obviously will play this game in Pittsburgh. You're absolutely right. So that's going to be quite a battle for these Ravens. I think they're up to the task.
Smith throws and batted down by Zachary Bowman. Give you the final numbers today on Joe Flacco. Career high 4 touchdowns. He had not thrown more than 1 touchdown in a game since the Minnesota game. That was back in week 6.
Well, he gets a critique from his dad every week, and his dad's going to have a lot of good things to say today. This is an impressive young man. I think this team is going through the transformation of being a defensive-dominated, a Ray Lewis-dominated team. This is becoming Joe Flacco's team.
Troy Smith carries out across the 35. We're under 6 minutes to go here in Baltimore, where the Ravens will go to 8-6 on the year. Bears will slip to 5-9 with 2 to go. Bears still have to play Minnesota, and all of a sudden the Vikings are right there with a chance at home field advantage throughout the playoffs in the NFC if New Orleans is beaten once more.
And that changes the equation for New Orleans in terms of the way they might approach those last 2 games, where prior to this it was, well, are we going to rest our guys? What can we get done that way? Going to be very interesting these last 2 weeks in the NFL.
Well, Bennett runs out of bounds. Well, love is in the air during the holiday season here in Baltimore. Before the game, Santa Claus proposing to one of the Ravens cheerleaders, and then she realized it wasn't old St. Nick. And how about that, Coach?
Well, she took the ring, but do we know if she said yes? I think so. I think maybe
did.
So.
Yeah. Congratulations.
You know how tough that makes that on the rest of us? When our wives look at us, how did you ask me to marry? Oh my gosh.
Right. We missed that boat.
Yeah, we
right.
Did. We did.
But you've been on top of your game ever since.
I have.
Caleb Haney, second-year quarterback out of Colorado State, comes on to replace Cutler and throws complete to Johnny Knox. Haney played only in 1 game, and that was a blowout loss for the Bears on the road at Cincinnati. That was really the game that I think a lot of people saw perhaps a change in the perception of the Chicago Bears. Where they went on the road after getting off to a good start, they went on the road and were completely humiliated by the Bengals in Cincinnati. They were behind 31-0 with 2 minutes to play in the first half, and that one is intercepted by Frank Walker.
Well, when it starts rolling downhill, it's like that proverbial snowball out of control. There's not much you can do. Ball just gets tipped up by the receiver. Nice job staying with it. This is the way you want to finish if you're John Harbaugh. You want to finish the game.
Over. Delay a game, number 41 of the intercepting team.
Well,
5-yard penalty, first down.
Maybe until that.
Yeah, but still, I mean, you just the defense playing well. You got your starters out of the game. Now it's just cleanup time at the end. Going to be a fun game next week between these Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then they've got to go on the road against the Oakland Raiders, which has been its own black hole for the AFC North,
You're right.
having beaten Cincinnati and Pittsburgh.
The Raiders giving Denver all at once today. Throw and a catch. Second down and a yard. So Green Bay still very much in that one. Now trailing by 3. They hand it off to LeRon McClain. You know, McClain's a guy who deserves a lot of credit. I mean, you talk about in a day and age where there seems to be so much selfishness by players in any sport. McClain, a guy a year ago, went to the Pro Bowl. He carried the ball 232 times for over 900 yards and 10 touchdowns. He has carried the ball this year 36 times and not a peep out of it.
No, and has come back in that role, and that's what you have to have when you're a good team, is role players. Again, with the emergence of Ray Rice, you still have McGahee. You're exactly right, a great role player for this Baltimore Ravens team.
On 3rd and a yard, Smith close to a first down.
And I'd be very surprised if we see the ball in the air too much more for the Baltimore Ravens.
Well, Smith was about a half-yard short of a first down on the 3rd down carry, and it looks like he got it on 4th down.
Now, we've seen 2 very heads-up plays by the Baltimore Ravens by the quarterback. We saw earlier Joe Flacco quickly getting them up on a situation that might have been a challenge and got the playoff. Here, before you can get a chance to substitute and get settled in, they quickly line up in a no-huddle attack mode and sneak for a first down.
Well, it's never too late. I mean, this is back behind the Ravens bench. You call anybody on the planet, but this time of year, that's the main man, Santa Claus. Troy Smith throwing the ball, and it is intercepted by Zachary Bowman.
Yeah, just a little surprised by that, but, you know, taking a shot to the end zone. I guess maybe they're trying to get Troy Smith some playing time.
Yeah, he's had very little playing time. He's only thrown 5 passes all year. I mean, they're having to get some of the fans away from our broadcast booth. We are right here, right in front of them on the 2nd level. And Brian Billick, I mean, they're all coming to see you. You are still an enormously popular guy here in Baltimore.
Yeah, I'd have felt better if it weren't just the group that's been drinking all day. Those are my guys. But, you know, the people here, and I still live in the area. They've been incredibly gracious. Love coming. I've really enjoyed coming back to the stadium.
Khalil Bell on a carry out to the 40. I mean, all these people coming up, and you know, they've never had a chance to probably see you, Brian. I mean, up this close. And, you know, a lot of them have come up to you and said thanks for the Super Bowl. I mean, you know, you were obviously a guy who was around town. You do a lot of charity work. You give a lot of your time during your days as a coach of the Ravens. But there were a lot of people that never had a chance to probably say thank you. And we have had literally dozens of those that have come just in front of our broadcast booth here today.
Well, it's very much appreciated, I tell you. And, you know, when I came here and didn't fully appreciate the absence of football here for 13 years, and that was hard on the fans. And then the Super Bowl was a great thing to be able to experience and bring to the city. And it is. It's a great area. I'm a West Coast guy, but we're retired here. This is my home now. I'm not going anyplace. We've loved it. We love living here, and my family and I are very appreciative for the generosity of the fans.
All right, we talked about the Ravens, and by winning out, the Ravens are in the playoffs. I mean, there's no magic to all this anymore. Go to Pittsburgh, big game. Next week, great rivalry. Great game between those two teams earlier this year. An overtime win for the Ravens. And again, Pittsburgh without Ben Roethlisberger. And then you go on the road to Oakland. And as you point out, that has been a nightmarish trip for division rivals of the Ravens so far this year.
It's a great opportunity for the Ravens, though, in 2 games that obviously mean a lot, to keep that rhythm. We keep everybody talking about, well, do you play your guys or not, and how does that affect it? This can be a good formula for the Ravens going forward.
Our game produced today by Bob Stenner, directed by Rich Dewey, our associate director Charles McDonald, our broadcast associate Bill Cullen, and our technical producer Bob Muller. And again, we thank our entire crew, so many who traveled so many hours. In some cases, better than 24 hours on what routinely would be an hour-and-a-half, 2-hour flight. Up here in the booth, we thank Tom Barbary on stats, Scott Snyder, our spotter. And again, a real tip of the cap to so many, not only on our crew, but in this entire city, in getting the stadium ready to play football, the field ready to play football. I mean, if you just look at the field itself, you see no snow sort of pushed off to the sideline. They took about 25 million pounds, allegedly, of snow out of this stadium, and they dumped it into nearby waterways, all the snow.
Yeah, and you never can fully appreciate just how many people it takes to put on a game like this, particularly under those circumstances. Great kudos to the Baltimore Ravens and the city of Baltimore.
So the Ravens go to 8-6.